very excited to be here with Katy Brent, who is going to tell us a little bit about your debut book.
Yes, I am. So it is my very first book, and it is a sort of satire, dark humor, crime fiction called How to Kill Men and Get Away with It. Don't judge the title because it's not a guidebook. Definitely not a guidebook. It's more of a commentary on sort of how women are treated in the society, and that kind of thing. So yes. It's the main character is a young woman called Kitty Collins, who is she's an Instagram influencer who has made her name and her kind of following, I guess, through being a sort of Made in Chelsea type persona. She is heir to a meat production company, so I guess in my head she's sort of, you know, like the great granddaughter of someone like Bernard Matthews or someone like that, but she's set to inherit a lot of money through the killing of animals, basically, which she's turned her back on because she doesn't believe in it and is actually vegan, and but also has a lot of rage inside her for various reasons, and yeah, ends up killing quite a few men. I've lost count of the body count, actually, but yes, there's definitely a few, and it's handy for her, obviously, having an abattoir at her disposal. So, you know, very convenient.
This is true. We've got some hellos. So Mills Pixie said hi. Leslie said hi. Sam has said hi. Mills she bought the book when we shared our promo.
Oh wow, thank you.
Has read it and has just commented on the stream that she loved it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Which is a really nice start, isn't it?
It's so for me, it's like having it actually out there. Like it's been out on ebook and audio since October, but the paperback was a week ago, which has been much sort of more real, I guess, for me. And it's like sort of, it's almost like sending your first child off to nursery for the first day. It's really like, you know, you're putting this thing that you love and you've worked really hard on out into the world, and it's like, God, what if everyone hates it? So yeah, having lovely feedback is just, I thank you. Thank you so much.
It's such a catchy title, and I've seen that joke a lot of times, you know, people saying, is it a guidebook? Which is really interesting. Who came up? Did you have that as your title from the beginning? Is it
No. When I was very first sort of planning it, I wanted it to, I was kind of planning it, it was the same sort of premise, but I was planning it on being a kind of like almost like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but instead of killing vampires, she was killing, you know, horrid men. Not quite as horrible as they turn out as being in this book. It was much lighter in tone than it turned out to be. And the original title for it was Kitty the F-Boy Slayer. And then as it got kind of a bit, I sort of thought for people to really be able to emphasize with Kitty, they needed to understand why she's doing what she's doing, basically. So the men had to become a bit worse, and it wasn't difficult to find, you know, a lot of the, in fact, you know, most of the crimes committed by the men in the book are based on real life crimes that have happened. So the original title for me was How to Kill Men and Influence People, because obviously she's an influencer, and that's sort of what I wanted it to be. But HarperCollins, who and HQ, the publishers, had done some focus groups, and they came up with How to Kill Men and Get Away with It, and it seems to have caught on really well and sort of provoked a lot of discussion. So,
which is kind of what you want, isn't it? Because it is a thought-provoking book. So
yeah.
I think having that title, it's got a really lovely sort of bright cover, hasn't it? That's going to draw people's eyes because it's like a bright orange. That certainly, if you walk into my Waterstones, and Mills has said there's a lot of buzz about it in her local Waterstones, you can't miss it.
It's very the cover is extremely catchy, and it's really clever as well, because if you look at it closely, it's sort of, I mean, first glance it looks like just a young woman walking along with sort of a dirty skirt that she might have spilled coffee on or something, but when you look at it closely, you realize that the shadow of the coffee cup is actually a knife, and the stains of blood, and we wanted it was really difficult because we wanted something that would portray the seriousness of the subjects that are addressed within the book, as if you're reading a police procedure book. It isn't 100% realistic at all. I mean, there's, according to this book, there's barely any CCTV in London, and that sort of thing. So you have to kind of suspend disbelief quite a lot before you go into it. And that's what we wanted the cover to kind of portray. And we thought by having this sort of illustrated cover and, it not looking completely serious would get that message across. Hopefully that's what it's done anyway.
Sam said congratulations on your debut crime fiction novel being published. Laura said hello. And Sam says it must be exciting to have your paperback and audio book out already. Has it been a whirlwind few months?
Oh gosh, it's been this week has been like insane, because just under 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, I broke my ankle in a very sad accident in a sauna, which I won't go into, but it's meant that I can't sort of go out and see it in the wild, which was sort of my plan on publication day. So I've had lots of people sending me pictures and lots of people tagging on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, but I don't know, there's just something about the paperback that feels much more, not real, but just more. I think people are getting the vibe from the paperback more. I think where people, where it's in Waterstones, and some of the Waterstone stores have made wonderful displays around it and stuff. It's made it a lot more sort of visible. So I'm getting a lot more feedback than I did when the ebook and audiobook came out. Which, I mean, that was completely wonderful. It was an amazing experience. But I think this has been, it's a different level, really, the paperback. So yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, it did. What was the best place you've had a picture sent of someone with it?
The best picture I've seen is from Waterstones in Birkenhead, and they've done this wonderful sort of display where they've got the book, they've got the poster, they've got some of the bookmarks, they've got badges that I don't even have. I'm like, can someone just send me those badges, please? And then they've got like crime tape over it, but they've got it along with books like Sweet Pea and My Sister the Serial Killer, and, you know, the other kind of books that would fit into that sort of genre. And it's just I'm like, the best thing about that photo is that they've got a coffee cup in it, just sort of on the side, and if you look really closely, you can see there's sort of 4 smudge marks of blood, and I'm like, that's just wonderful. The level of that, you know, is just so clever. Um, and that, for me, it's so weird for me because obviously, you know, it's my debut book, and it's something, you know, I wrote on my laptop, and I'm sort of seeing these amazing displays that people are sending me from Waterstones, you know, up the whole sort of country. It's just, yeah, it is. It's amazing, but completely surreal. I'm still like, most of the time.
Kitty and her friends are like kind of serious sort of top level influencers, aren't they? With like quite a jet set lifestyle. You said in your sort of notes at the back that they're based on sort of real life reality shows.
Yeah, so they're based on, I guess, sort of I mean, when I was sort of a bit younger, I was obsessed with, shows like The Hills, um, and to a lesser degree, because I was just a bit older, I guess, Made in Chelsea, and I just kind of thought that it would be super interesting to have one of these people who they live this really privileged lifestyle, but for one of them to have, you know, a really dark secret that they're kind of hiding. But the other thing is, like, I'm a huge fan of American Psycho. That sounds weird, doesn't it? The book and the film, and I guess I was kind of thinking about what that would look like today, because obviously that book was set in the 80s, in the kind of sort of, you know, New York yuppie kind of period, and I was wondering what it would look like if it was written today, and the kind of sort of influencer, Instagram lifestyle was sort of the immediate equivalent that sort of came to me, really. So that's where, yeah, it was sort of an amalgamation of different things, but also it was just, you know, I mean, I remember watching an episode of Made in Chelsea. I won't mention any names of the characters, but there was a guy who was just being a complete jerk to a couple of girls at the time, and I just remember thinking, "Gosh, what if she just killed him?" And it was a very, you know, it was one of those really, like, quite dark and, you know, strange thoughts that you tried to sort of ignore, but then I was like, "Hmm, what would happen if she had this sort of online lifestyle and this profile, but behind the scenes, she had this sort of really dark secret and was, you know, doing these other bits and, well, other bits and pieces. I'll call it that."
Mills has said that she was talking to her flatmate. I'm just going to roll off and read the comment. Talking to a friend about it last night, sorry, not a flatmate, and they said they understood Kitty's motivations. Um, there's certainly, I love like a really good trashy reality show, and there's certainly some, like, I'm watching this dating one at the moment, and some of the men on it are awful. Like, I'm glad I don't date
Mm.
when I watch it. Um, so it's quite interesting that you sort of took that approach of like the almost righteous serial killer like Dexter
She's
as
she's
someone,
she's very much,
well, they believe they're righteous.
yeah, she like, none of her kills are for herself, a apart from possibly the first one, which is an accident. The rest of them are all, in her mind, as far as she's concerned, saving other women from, you know, horrible experiences and sexual assaults and rapes and that kind of thing. So she genuinely believes that what she's doing is for the greater good, rather than just, doing it for kicks, basically.
You've also been asked by Leslie. Sorry, lost the question. What you're writing now? And you're currently on a retreat, aren't you?
I'm on a retreat at the moment. Yes, I'm in a wonderful writing retreat, which is Retreats for You. It is in North Devon. I've come here to basically finish what I'm hoping is the final edits on my second book. And it's just the loveliest place. It's so nice. It's so calm. It's so peaceful. Meals are provided. It's like being sort of looked after. It's like having a mum, basically, looking after you, sort of like you're a child. And it's just really nice to sort of be able to, I can turn my internet off. I can turn, sort of life off as much as possible and just totally focus on what I'm needing to do. I mean, I'm here for 4 nights and yeah, it's just been great. I mean, I've never been able to sort of do one before. I've never been in the position where I've been able to, but yeah, it's completely amazing. And there's some wonderful other writers as well here, and that I think that's really important as well because, anyone who is a writer or who is trying to be a writer and trying to write something knows how solitary it can be, and it it can be extremely lonely, and having other people around who you can talk to about what you're doing and your ideas is super important. And I mean, obviously there's Zoom, which is great in so many ways, but I don't think it sort of replaces, the sort of face-to-face contact that you can have with people. And it's lovely. It's just I don't know if you can see it, there's a massage chair in the background in my bedroom, which I like to hop on before I go to sleep at night. Yeah, it's great.
What can you tell us about book 2?
Oh gosh, book 2, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it. So it's not, related to How to Kill Men in any way. It's a standalone. Um, it's untitled as yet, but it's also, again, it touches on a lot of feminist issues. When I was writing it, I was listening to a podcast called Hidden Homicides, which if anyone gets the chance to listen to, do, but do it cautiously because there are a lot of triggers in it, because it's basically about men who get away with killing women pretty much. And so book 2 is sort of looking at it at things from that angle, but it's also very much about when I was writing the second book, I lost my dad and I lost a very close friend. So it's quite a lot about grief as well, and sort of, your personal journey through grief and that kind of thing. So it's much softer than this one. It's still got bite, definitely, but the main character, Molly, she's much more, I guess, sort of like your every woman, whereas Kitty is obviously luckily she's not your everyday woman.
Mills has said you have a publication date for book 2.
At the moment, I think it's going to be about this time next year, just because we want to try and make sure we have enough time between. The How to Kill Men is coming out in the States and Canada later on this year, and I think Finland are publishing it as well. So we want to make sure there's enough of a, enough space between that and book 2, instead of just like sort of chucking it on each other. And I'm having to do it's been a more difficult process for me writing the second one. How to Kill Men, I started back in 2018. I was doing an online course with Faber Academy, which was amazing, completely amazing. So I sort of had this idea, and I didn't really know where to start or where to go with it, or sort of what to do with it, really. So I did a course which is called it's called Writing a Novel, and it basically helps you just nail your first sort of 15,000 words. And once you, I mean, that's a huge chunk, and once you've done that, it becomes a lot easier to sort of go on from there. And so it was great because there was a lot of some of the tutors there are amazing. My tutor was Julia Crouch, who is a wonderful crime writer. She's the kind of godmother of domestic noir. I think she actually sort of nailed the term. Who and was absolutely brilliant. And I'm still in touch with a lot of people from that course, and just having kind of people to bounce ideas off of was wonderful and really helpful. With the second book, because it's just been sort of me and my editor, without so many sort of, I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? Because you there's this kind of idea that too many cooks spoil the broth, but I liked the input from a lot of people. With this one, it has been just me and my editor, and I have found the process harder. Not worse, but more difficult. Like, I've really had to sort of throw myself into it 100%, and just really knuckle down and write, really. Also, I had a deadline, which when I first obviously started writing How to Kill Men, it was just, a sort of off chance that it might get published one day by someone. But yeah, now I have a deadline and I have to write this book, so it's there's a tiny bit more pressure, but no, but it's still great. It's still, I've wanted to be a writer since I was about 6, I think. So actually getting to do it is wonderful. Even on the days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to write today. But I do, really.
Mills has said, and she's right, she said she thinks every author she's ever listened to has struggled in some way with book 2.
I think so. I think that's a very common thing, and I think it's, musicians say it as well, don't they? It's always the difficult second album, and I think, I don't know, Kitty has been, she so many people, I mean, she is quite a Marmite character, but so many people have taken her hugely into their hearts that I'm almost like, God, what if people don't like Molly, the next character, as much? Although I think she's much more likable. But yeah, it's yeah, it's scary.
Would you write anything else with Kitty in, even if you did like a story or something?
I'd love to. I would love to. I just think sort of slipping into her shoes and her mindset for me was a very cathartic experience, I think. When I was writing more the sort of second half of it, was when we were in lockdown, and there were a lot of, I mean, as I'm sure everyone's aware, there are a lot of very disturbing stories in the news about women being hurt, killed, etc., by men during these times. And it's yeah, it definitely gave me sort of the drive, I think, and I was able to really channel sort of Kitty's rage, um, and get that down. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to write another book about her or story or anything. I think, I mean, yeah, she's definitely got a lot to tell. She, you know, can't actually get away with murder for forever, I assume.
Well, that would, I think, be interesting to see, like, how she sort of, you know, what would happen to her.
Yeah, I don't think I've really thought that far ahead. It's a difficult one because I think, as I said before, it's the kind of thing where I've tried to flip the script on how men kill a huge amount of women and get away with it. We don't always hear about it. There's so many missing women who are unaccounted for, and that kind of thing. And so I haven't really, I mean, there's this kind of moral compass, I guess, where, she should have to face her consequences. But there's also another moral compass, I guess, where it's like she's making these guys meet their moral compass. Does that make sense? So I don't know. I don't know how it would end for her.
Leslie asked if you write full time or if you still do a day job. Was your day job helpful writing this book?
Yeah, it was because so I'm a journalist, and I mostly write about popular culture. Most recently, I've sort of specialised in TV, and a lot of my day doing my day job would be spent sort of in social media, having a look at what people were saying about different shows and getting that sort of gist of things. So it was definitely interesting, when I remember when The Suspect was on last year with Aidan Turner, and it was kind of it was a show that started with the discovery of the body of a dead woman, and sort of so many people were saying, this is such a common I think even one of the characters in the show says, this is how things start, which made, again, sort of gave me more gravitas towards how this book starts. But yeah, definitely, it's been, I mean, the social media aspect of what people are thinking, and even with real life crimes, I mean, I try to stay away from them as much as possible because obviously it's a difficult and unpleasant sort of situation, but it is interesting to see sort of how people react to certain things that happen. I mean, for example, it was, I mean, I guess the most recent example is the Nicola Bully case, where a lot of people immediately came out and was sort of blaming her partner and saying, her partner had something to do with it. And it was kind of like, it's almost like a natural instinct for some people, because that is so often the case. You just have to look at the statistics on like femicide reports and things like that women are generally hurt or killed by their partner or their ex-partner. So as much as I was trying to sort of avoid it and not let myself get too tied up into it, it was interesting to see that, how people were reacting, and that sort of aspect of it is interesting.
Sam said, do you think Kitty's been received in the way you felt you wrote her?
Oh, yes. Generally, yes. there's been, I mean, I always knew that she would be, to use a cliche, a Marmite character. I always knew that, you know, she would be loved or hated. And the people who have got her and who have got the book have got it so much. It's been wonderful. I've had, you know, such, you know, amazing feedback and wonderful reviews and people getting in touch with me on social media and stuff, and it's been great. There has been a handful of people who haven't resonated with her, but, you know, that was always going to be the way. I don't think you can't go into something writing, you know, I mean, you know, be honest, she's a psychopathic serial killer, she is. And I don't think you can go into writing something like that believing that everyone's going to love her and understand what she's doing or why she's doing it. So, yeah, it's been, but mostly, yeah, it's been she's been really, really, well received by people, which has been wonderful. Oops, hang on one second. Hello. Sorry. Hi. My dinner. Yeah, can you just pop it? Is that all right? Thank you. Thank you. It's lovely. Having to not cook for yourself is just the best.
So, if you were to play a character in the adaptation of How to Kill Men, which characters do you think would be?
Me? Oh gosh. Someone very much like in the back scenes. I mean, I wouldn't like to be involved in anything too forefront in it at all. I'd probably be like one of the incompetent police people or something like that, myself. But it's, I think it's a story for much younger people than I am. So I wouldn't see myself being one of the main characters. Although they're fascinating and that would be, you know, joyful, but yeah, not for me.
Sam thinks your writing retreat sounds heavenly. I'm feeling guilty that we're stopping you from eating your dinner.
I don't even know what it is tonight. It's like it's amazing. It's just like, oh wow, my dinner's been delivered, and then I can just write for another 2 hours and go to sleep and not sort of have to worry about it. It's really, I mean, it's like I say, it's the first time I've sort of been able to do this and been financially able to do something like this, and it's been wonderful. Um, and another great thing is, like, I've got a friend who lives quite nearby who has been my friend since we were, like, 15, who I obviously don't see as much now, you know, we're adults, we've got kids and stuff, so I'm getting to see her. She's coming to pick me up on Saturday, actually, and we're gonna go for a nice lunch, and, yeah, so to catch up with her is gonna be absolutely amazing as well, so it's just a really nice, it's just a shame about the broken foot. Otherwise, it would be completely perfect, but, you know.
What do your friends and family think of your book?
Um, I'm I don't, you know what? I don't know. Obviously, they say they love it because I don't think any of them are gonna be to me like, "This is horrible. Why have you done this? This is, you know, the worst thing I've ever read, and your characters are disgusting." They've generally been brilliant. I've had, you know, so much support from my friends and family. I've got, 4 half sisters who have been a wonderful, almost street PR team for me, who have been sort of, um, posting about it on all their social media channels, I think everyone's just super proud, really. It's from something, I think, as I said before, something that I wrote, you know, I sort of tapped away on my little laptop in my front room to becoming, you know, a display in Waterstones is such a it's I mean, I'm still having to pinch myself quite a lot about it, but yeah, I mean, no, they've been brilliant, really supportive, friends, family have been great, yeah.
That's good. Veering away from your writing, one of the things we like to ask in this group is what you've read recently that you've really enjoyed. What have been your kind of
Oh gosh,
top reads recently?
hot reads recently. I've been so tied up with doing promo for How to Kill Men and also edits on the second book that I haven't read nearly as much as I usually do. But one of the books I had a proof of recently was Spilt Milk by Amy Bichel, which I think is out maybe the 2nd of March. I'm not totally sure, but it's very, very soon. And it's just this wonderful story about a mother who kind of accidentally admits that motherhood isn't all it's cracked up to be. And she it's a sort of social media story, and you know, one of the things again in you know, my book is once these things are out there, they can't be unsaid or taken back. They're sort of, you know, they are there on the internet pretty much forever, and it's kind of the fallout from her saying that, and but it's just great. It's just a really honest and beautiful. You know, it sounds like it's a bit moany, but it's not. It's a really beautiful story, and there's a lot about friendship in there, grief, the complicated feelings you have when you're a mother, because so much of it is wonderful and so much of it is beautiful, but you know, you're kind of expected to put on that mask all the time of it all being perfect, and actually, you know, it isn't like that at all. So it's just a really honest account of sort of motherhood, and yeah, I loved it. So definitely recommend that if you're buying books next week.
Amy has actually commented on this thread.
Oh, has she?
Yeah, I don't know if she's still watching, because if she is, she's just had a very lovely description of a book. But she asked you if you had much feedback from men who read the book.
Oh, yeah, I see. Have you had much feedback from men? You know, bizarrely, there has been the feedback from men has been, I would say, sort of 70% to 75% really good. There's a lot of, you know, there's sort of a lot of they've said in reviews or have got in touch with me on social media to say that it's made them think that, you know, there's things that they've done or things that have happened that they just haven't it just hasn't kind of crossed their consciousness that they're overstepping the mark, or, you know, they haven't considered their privilege, or, you know, that kind of thing. But obviously there's been, you know, I mean, you're not going to be able to write a book called How to Kill Men and Get Away with It without there being a slight backlash. So there has been some unpleasantness, but you know, on the whole, I'm just trying to zen that out. Because as soon as you read the book, you know, it's not I've sort of had the kind of hashtag not all men on Twitter, and you know, when you read the book, you realize it's very much not saying it's all men and all men should die, and we're glamorizing violence against men or anything like that. It's not the case at all. It's very much not the case. So I think there's just some people who've taken, you know, a bit of a problem with the title and sort of run with that, really, rather than read it and understood it. But yeah, as I've said, the majority of men that I've spoken to who have read it. I had 2 male sensitivity readers, which always sounds like a weird thing to say for some reason, before it went to the copy proofers to read through it, to make sure that there wasn't anything in there that they found horrific, that, you know, I was being really completely awful and unfair. And they both loved it, and, you know, they kind of said, you know, if there are men who are reading it and it's making them feel uncomfortable, it's probably a good thing, because, you know, it's resonating with something that has happened to them previously, you know, they've done previously, or, you know, something along those lines. So it's been surprisingly good, because I was obviously expecting men to just, you know, be making effigies of me pretty much.
Amy said she really likes your book as well, and it's very different from Spilt Milk, but both feminist and seeking social change.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely different books. I mean, Spilt Milk is very much a domestic story. It's much more something. It's much more realist. I mean, you know, How to Kill Men is, I think I said to you previously, you have to go into it and completely suspend disbelief, because it is ridiculous. It's a vegan serial killer, for goodness sake. I mean, it's just, you know, the whole notion of it is you know, ridiculous. Whereas Spilt Milk looks quite intently at the, it's hard to, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it kind of looks at how parenthood affects kind of every relationship in your life, really. How it affects your relationship with your partner, friends, new friends, parents, and it you know, just how much of a huge thing it really is, and trying to sort of claim a little bit back for yourself, which Amy's character does via a blog, sort of backfires for her. But yeah, no, they are, both of them have very, very strong um, feminist messages. And I think with Spilt Milk as well, it's just that kind of thing where, you know, women and mothers are kind of expected to do everything all the time. Whereas, you know, I think, you know, you'll sometimes see a picture of a celebrity dad, for example, on a website, literally carrying a baby in a sling, and it's like, oh, look at super dad, and he's literally doing the bare minimum. He's literally just carrying the baby, and it's like, you know, he's this superhuman for doing that. Whereas, you know, mothers are just kind of expected to do everything, and kind of, and not complain about it ever. And, you know, it isn't easy, and I don't think enough people's kind of sort of admit that. And this book does that quite honestly, and I think that's, you know, it's a very important conversation that I think should be had, and needs to be had.
It was nice that I let Amy into the group earlier and she's already taken part in the chat.
Yes, that was lovely.
Excellent. It's like literally a few hours ago. So I think I was cooking my tea as I let her into the group.
Oh, how lovely.
So that's nice.
That's what you mean about the writing community. It's like, you know, it is that it is really supportive. There's, you know, there's so much just, you know, fondness and encouragement, and actually between women, which is, it's something that I never found in journalism really, but certainly it's one of the things I found since being in book publishing, that, you know, women supporting women is a huge thing, and it's great, it's wonderful, and, you know, it makes me really happy that we can sort of we can do that and be very vocal about, what we like about each other's work and, and that kind of thing. So it's pretty.
I can't remember which crime writer I interviewed, or talked to about this, but there is a theory that crime writers are also lovely because you'll get your horribleness out on the page.
I mean, that's also a possibility as well. I mean, I wrote, as I say, I wrote a lot of How to Kill Men sort of in lockdown when I was feeling very angry about many things. And it sort of it did give me that escapism where I could, get down on paper that anger that I was feeling. And it wasn't, it wasn't all necessarily a feminist anger, it was just I think everyone knows what I mean when I talk about COVID rage. So yeah, it was sorry, I've got hiccups. Yeah, it was very much a good escapism for me to kind of be able to detach from this world where everything is horrible and go into a world where everything is still quite horrible, but actually I can do something about it. So yeah.
What events have you got planned? You've done this one with us.
Gosh,
What else have you got coming up?
can't remember everything at the moment. So I've got a few book signings coming up in some various Waterstone stores. A lot of things have had to be put on ice because I'm sort of on crutches and have the gorgeous, I can't show it to you, but the gorgeous moon boot of terror, which is sort of comes up to my knee and has about 6 different straps and airbags on it to sort of hold my ankle together. But there's book signings. I'm doing I'll be at the London Book Fair in April where I will be chairing a talk about debut writers and my personal journey to being published. Just trying to think what else there is. There's a few sort of short pieces I've written for various sites. Again, mostly about my sort of my journey. I'm doing a short story for S magazine, which is the Sunday Express magazine, which is a standalone story. So yeah, there's quite a bit going on. I can't remember all of it though. I'm so bad at remembering, even times and days. I'm just like, oh, don't know. So I need to get better at that, really, massively.
One of my favorite author chat questions to ask is: Would you work on or approve a graphic novel adaptation of your book?
A graphic novel adaptation, did you say? Yeah, I'd love that. Amazing. I love graphic novels. Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I mean, it's not like I'm a super fan or anything like that, but having kids, I've watched sort of a lot of things like Teen Titans Go and that kind of thing, and yeah, I'd be bang up for Kitty being an animated kick-ass character completely, yeah.
I am a massive nerd, so that's why I always ask this question.
I wish I had more time for that kind of thing because it is something that I love looking at like, for me, it's like looking at the pictures because they're always so amazing anyway, and I always think, I just wish I had more time to just properly nerd out about stuff like this and properly nerd out about the programs and that, but, yeah, no, I'd love it, and I think it would have the potential to be, funny, but also dark, very dark as well.
Ooh, so I'm going to ask Laura's question in a minute. Have you had any TV interest in Kitty, or any like media interest?
I don't think I'm allowed to say. Sorry.
Fair enough.
As soon as I'm allowed to tell anyone, I will. But I don't think I'm allowed to say at the moment.
Fair enough.
Maybe. Let's say that. Possibly.
Laura says, dare I ask my question, given what Katy may have got up to, did you act out a scene to help with the writing process?
No, but do you know what? I saw this wonderful TikTok video, sort of it must have been around about sort of the end, when at the end of when I was writing this, and it's this girl, and she's doing, hang on, sorry, 1 moment. Hello. Oh, it's my dessert. Sorry, I'm still going. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, so looked after. It's amazing. So it's this female influencer, and she's sort of kind of taking the mick out of influencers a little bit, and she starts sort of saying, you know, this is my night routine, and I cleanse my face, and then I use a lotion exfoliator, and then I put on my red LED mask, which is one of those masks that cover your face and your eyes and make you basically look like something from Halloween, and are terrifying to look at. And then she's kind of like, and then I go and kill people. And she's like, this is someone smaller than I usually kill, so this is easier for me to hide. It just sort of, I can't remember the question now. Have I ever, no, it was, have I ever acted out a scene? But no, but that was the kind of thing that I thought that would just, you know, if there was any kind of TV show, that would just be hilarious to sort of have in it. My nighttime routine, my skincare, how I kill someone, how I dispose of the body, and then how I put rose water on my face before I go to bed.
We've had some marvellous answers to that question.
I
It's a bit of a favourite group question, and we've had people who've like sort of tied themselves up, sort of put themselves in the boot of a car to see what it was like, held the knife to
God.
acted out a fight on a pier, buried a shoulder in concrete, like a pig shoulder, I think it was, or something like that, and then dug it up a year later to see if it really didn't deteriorate. There are some really crazy crime authors in this world. Yeah. But it's an absolutely brilliant question to ask, because you do not know what people are going to tell you.
No, I can imagine. I've never buried a pig's shoulder in concrete, definitely not.
Someone, I think it was, they were an author, they read somewhere that if you bury stuff in concrete, like the things don't actually decompose.
Right.
So they wanted to test it out, so they buried one in concrete in their garden and then dug it up like a year later, but they dug it up in like summer, broke open the concrete, and it didn't, but then when it's exposed to air, it rapidly does.
That's insane.
And they were like, so they unearthed it in like the middle of summer when everyone was having like barbecues in their back garden, and then unleashed this like kind of horror onto them.
Gosh, that's something else. I mean, I've most of my research was like, you know, obviously we were in lockdown, so it wasn't, you know, it's very difficult to kill someone if you've got to keep a 2-meter distance from them, unfortunately. But so there were, most of the research I did was stuff online, and there's things like, apparently if you bury a body, to put yogurt over it, because that helps it deteriorate faster, or if you bury a body in the forest, to then put like a dead badger or a dead fox over the top of it, because then when the sniffer dogs sniff it out, that's what they'll find. And just like these other just really weird, crazy things, and it's just like, oh my God. My search history for how to kill men, I mean, yeah, it's a very interesting place to go, I would imagine.
We've probably got time for one last question, which is I'm going to ask Sam's because she said, "What is your pug's name?" She spotted an adorable picture.
Oh, my pug. So yes, I'm getting my pug on Sunday, which I'm really excited about. And she's called Joni, after Joni Mitchell, the singer, who is a huge favourite of mine. And yeah, I'm just totally, I'm completely in love with her already. So I can't wait to sort of. I get back home on Saturday, and then my friend's driving me to pick her up on the Sunday, and yeah, can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's really good. And then finish off with reminding us about your book and where people can find it and things.
Yeah, so let me just show you the cover once again, as I have it here. So yeah, How to Kill Men and Get Away with It. It's in paperback, Kindle, Apple Book, audio, sort of all of those places at the moment. Asda, Waterstones, Amazon, Tesco are going to be stocking it from, I think, kind of mid-March. So from mid-March, you'll be able to get it in Tesco as well. So yeah, it's and sort of other obviously online bookstores. You can order it from WH Smith's and things like that. So yeah, it's quite widely available.
That's fantastic. And thanks so much for coming on and joining us.
Thank you. It's been lots of fun.
We'll let you go and enjoy your lovely dinner that's been.
My dinner. I'll probably have to heat it up now, but yeah, thank you. And thank you, thank you for all the questions.
Sam's just saying thank you for an interesting hour.
Oh, yeah.
Best of luck finishing your draft.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Hopefully I'll get there. I've had a really productive day today, so yeah, fingers crossed I will, by Saturday I'll have sort of, hopefully, I've just gotten to this really sticky bit in the middle, and I'm hoping that, the next sort of couple of days will help me. I don't know. I was trying to use a baking analogy, but I never bake, so I don't know what I'm talking about really. But make it less soggy in the middle. So yeah, thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Bye.